absolutely the most horrible thing I think you could do to somebody. I mean, it's you look at it and think there are things worse than death. What they take away from this person, or the permanency of some of these injuries, to know that the best medicine in the world can't fix this. Your life is forever changed, and they have to live with it. They don't have a choice. I get to go on an airplane and go home. They're left here with the day in, day out of dealing with the complications that result from these injuries.
Nghe không? Đây, quay lại đó, đừng có.
She is the devout teacher and she works very hard.
Rồi bây giờ con tự đi lấy gói, con coi con chưa có gói, con đi lấy gói thì sao? Con đi lấy gói, tự đi lấy gói rồi.
And she wants to see the doctor.
Tới đây nè con. Tới đây đi lấy gói, không có che mắt, Tới đây lấy gói. Rồi tới đây.
She hopes tomorrow they can have her better.
Đúng, tới rồi. Rồi giùm con.
They can make for her eyes better and her face more beautiful.
Không, con ngồi xích dưới này. Con ngồi xích xuống. Rồi con để gói đây, con nằm xuống. Xích xuống nữa.
I don't know exactly how the detail that process, but it takes a lot of work from the Vietnamese partners here to spread the word and to make the announcement, to make the people aware that there will be this team, American doctors come to do these operations.
I don't see our work in Vietnam as ever ending. I mean, certainly Vietnam is improving, is economically doing very well. And I think that's particularly true in Saigon. However, there are many more remote areas in Vietnam where the people are desperately poor. And I just have a heart for the Vietnamese people. There's no particular reason for that. I just do.
The level of poverty that you can see in certain places in Vietnam is different. It's far more so than what you see in the United States. You know, even the worst places in the United States are better off than some of the folks here. But that doesn't change how they are. Just that everyone here is working. Everybody here's got a job. Everyone is working. Never see them sitting still. They're all very, very busy.
I hope to help the Vietnamese people and continue that. I also feel a little bit remorse about the damages done by the Vietnamese towards America and by America towards the Vietnamese many years ago. And I feel like if we can replace some of the damage done by our side towards them with good, that's a good thing too. So that motivates me to help the Vietnamese as well.
With medical supplies from home, our volunteer team traveled from Boston, Jacksonville, and Denver. Roughly 18 hours later, we met up in Da Nang, Vietnam, half a world away. We wanted to access the most disadvantaged Vietnamese, so for the second year, we went first to Pacific Medical Center in the rural village of Hoi An. This year, the foundations brought a gift. The wooden box is an autoclave for instrument sterilization. They now can sterilize their instruments in 13 minutes instead of using their older 2-hour autoclave. This also allowed us to do more children with the quick turnover in instrument processing.
You know, they've been coming to this area for many years, so they've had an idea of what we should or should not bring. I actually went to 2 different hospitals and asked them to donate medical supplies that we were going to need. In the back of my head, I was always thinking, I hope we don't forget about something, but I was also emotionally prepared to just kind of deal with it and, you know, get creative if we didn't have everything that we needed.
There's a autoclave, I think, down somewhere outside. I think it might be outside or in the building that they will use. But it takes like 2 hours. So.
And yours is?
This is like 13 minutes. It's quick. Even though we don't speak or understand the language, I'm amazed at how easy it is to understand each other by hand signals or body language. Where's the water?
Put the water inside.
Oh, you already put it in?
No.
Oh,
No.
oh, yeah. Yeah. If you have the water, do you have water? It's coming. It's coming.
Con nước là ở này hả? Con nước là
Yeah.
What kind of water?
No. I think they're thinking it's just regular water.
The hard day at each place was the day we have to do the evaluation. Oh, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this.
What tends to happen is the chief here organizes a group of children and young adults and some older adults for us to see and examine on the first day and then decide where the greatest need is and who we need to operate on, who will most benefit, which cases we can get done.
All these people
Okay.
and these 3.
Okay, so let's start. If it looks like if it's an eye patient, then have them sit here for Dr. Popham. If it's a palate, anything with the mouth, they go there for Barry.
All of these doctors are great. Jerry is probably the most laid back, level-headed, easy to get to know guy there is with so much talent. He's just a natural leader of a group like this.
Yeah.
Barry just left a tour in Iraq and immediately came here, and his wife came with him, and that to me was just amazing.
Do you feel that? Close. If you run your finger right over there, you'll feel the depression. That's the cleft in the where the teeth are. So you take bone and you put up it.
The incidence of cleft lip and palate is very high in Vietnam compared to the rest of the world. There's less tissue in the midface, and so they're more likely to have what we call midfacial deformities. But the other thing it's thought to be is related to environmental toxins. Dioxin has been frequently blamed for the much higher rate. It's never been specifically proven, but there's a lot of work and a lot of data showing that that's probably accurate.
One of the pretty unique things that we see in very selected parts of the developing world is the phenomenon of burning somebody maliciously with acid when you feel like they have somehow wronged you or failed to requite your affections.
I guess the equivalent of the drive-by shooting in America in this country might be the practice of throwing acid in people's faces. And it happens for a variety of reasons.
I'd just like to know what happens. What do they do to somebody, the perpetrator in something like this?
Good question.
He knows who it was. It's his girlfriend.
He was married. He had a mistress, and his mistress apparently was so in love with him and was so upset about his relationship with his wife that she put battery acid on him. And he in turn thought, well, then this woman must really love me. So he left his wife, married her, and has children with her now. And he feels like she really loves him.
And does he feel angry
He said that I don't believe she deserved punishment because she did it because she loved me so much that it provoked her to jealousy, and out of a moment of jealousy she couldn't help it, and so she did that. So I don't think she should be punished.
Can you explain to him, Viet, that we need to remove his right eye? It will never see anymore, and could cause infection, could cause damage to the other eye. So we just need to, I want him to know that we need to remove it, and then maybe we can fit him later with a false eye.
That's a sense of forgiveness that I don't think I could muster that.
No, he was.
She's complaining of, her teacher.
One thing I was talking to with some other people was that in the United States, when something like that happens, someone gets their tire slashed or a window broken out or something crazy like that, but it never comes to this. And it just, here in this setting, it's an appropriate response to feeling betrayed or, feeling like someone's encroaching on your territory. But it's gruesome and it's awful, but it frequently happens here.
You can see how it's almost like rope that's tying the skin down. It's pretty constricting, and I think to untighten it and lift it up, yeah. She wants it smooth like my scar, she says. Like smooth.
We saw at least 4 or 5 women yesterday, but one patient, and she was a young woman, and they brought the patient in and gave me her paperwork, and on it she had a paper clip of a photograph, and immediately I recognized that it was her. And I looked at the picture and I thought, this girl was gorgeous, she's really beautiful. There was a gentleman in her neighborhood who had essentially been stalking her, following her around, and she was not interested in him, and he got upset, and he and another person with him pushed her off her bike, and immediately I guess she knew what was coming, so she covered her face, and they turned her over on her back and then poured the acid on her. What kind of person would do that to someone? And it almost brought me to tears. Like I was physically trying to keep myself from crying in front of her. She was still beautiful, and I was sure to tell her that she still looked beautiful, but you can tell that she had obviously something had happened to her.
This is probably in many ways for me the hardest day, because there's a tremendous amount of hope and expectations and phenomenal desire to have something done.
These are mothers and fathers that have mostly have brought their children, and there's a certain sense of desperation that you can, a palatable sense of desperation that you can feel in the air, and these people have come from great distances, and they just want help for their children, and that's a raw emotion that just really is at the surface.
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Tomorrow. I hope tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
There are a whole lot more patients than we have time and the tools to do the surgeries. And there's things that are weighed in, whether they have previous medical problems that may prevent them from doing the surgeries. And unfortunately, some folks get told no, and it's very sad. I mean, they've waited for days or weeks or months or even years to have an opportunity to have this surgery, and then because they have a cold or they have some sort of virus, they fall off the eligibility list, and it's sad. And your heart goes out to them.
They decided not to do babies under a certain age, and this baby is 8 months. I think it's under a year that they're cutting it off.
There's two extreme ends. You see, some parts of the city in Ho Chi Minh, you see major buildings that are like the buildings in New York, and the night lights are like the night lights in New York. But you step off the main drag and it's like you're in the gutter. It's poverty, it's people people work hard here, but it's like there's the have and the have-nots, and there's a whole lot more have-nots than there are haves here. Been to foreign countries before, but never where you have this many mopeds on these biggest streets, where you just have to kind of walk out in the middle of everything, and if you try to dodge traffic, you'll get ran over. You just have to walk among them, and they'll go around you. It's funny to ride in a taxi cab here. It's almost hilarious. I always try to grab the front seat just to get first-hand view of how close it is, and they bang mirrors and run into each other, but traffic just keeps on moving. It's good stuff.
There's a tremendous number of cyclists and motorbikes, and when people have accidents, they frequently end up with facial trauma. And one of the things that happens following facial trauma and infections in the gums and in the teeth and in the jaws and in the bones is that the jaw joint here seizes up. And once that happens, one can't open their mouth, one can't eat. And we've done many cases, and we're talking about people who are 25 to 40 years old who only weigh 65 to 90 pounds, full-grown people, because they're becoming malnourished because they can't open their mouth. Those people had no options here. Well, what we've been doing is we've been teaching and training the physicians here, the anesthesiologists, the surgeons, and the post-operative caregivers how to repair that. I bring a resident every year, have done for maybe 6 or 7 years. They get a chance to practice medicine in a developing country, to see a different way of practicing, to realize that everything is not the way they've been taught. And that's very important for interactions across the world and across the globe.
The first day was challenging. I feel like the Vietnamese are more accustomed to working without. Because they don't have a lot of resources, they try to conserve what they have. So there were a couple of times when, say, I needed suction and I just turned the suction on, and then I pull out my suction catheter because the child's bleeding all over the place, and I'm suctioning and I'm like, what? And they turned it off. But once we adjusted to that and we were able to communicate via translator, it all worked out. And I think that we were able to learn from them in terms of how to adapt in our circumstances, and they were able to learn from us.
There's many different ways of doing missions. The good thing about this one appeals to me is that this is the equivalent of a teaching hospital in the United States. And we've been able to work with the same physicians for 11, 12, 13 years and seen the progression of medical care. The surgeons were doing very simple, straightforward stuff, doing a fabulous job, but within a very narrow boundaries. Well, now there are 4 or 5 physicians in the hospital staff doing the anesthesia. They have an on-call system that comes in at night to deal with emergencies. There has been a fabulous progression of the sort of cases that are done when we're not here. And I guess in reality, at some point, probably not in the too distant future, we'll be superfluous.
He is poor. He's Vietnamese, he is HIV positive, and so it's risky to operate on someone like that. He had lost a great deal of skin on his face, so consequently the shrinkage of the skin had turned his lower eyelid inside out, his upper eyelid inside out, and left his eye totally unprotected. He was totally unable to blink. He developed an infection and then a hole in his eye. And the hole in his eye just caused the eye to be compromised so that it couldn't be saved. So first we removed his eye, and then we released all the skin, the burned skin on his eyelids, turned them back into their normal positions, and then skin grafted. So we took skin from his abdomen and placed that in his eyelids, and we also did the same procedure on the opposite side where his eye was compromised as well. So hopefully he'll have no trouble with that remaining eye. That'll be beautiful. To pull him back from the fire was a great thing. And you know, he's the dregs of society, and I think he deserves our help as much as anyone else. So that was a real highlight for me. Colorado. You live in Huangnam province, Colorado province.
Yeah, yes. And I was really touched by when I spoke with Jerry. He really feels a responsibility that he's so blessed. He has so much. He has a great family. He showed pictures to all of us.
My home.
My home.
So,
yeah.
In the mountains.
He's aware of how blessed he is and feels that he needs to give back, and this is one of the ways that he gives back. But I have no doubt in my mind that when he's not here, he's doing other things in his own community as well. I mean, it's very obvious.
They're just an incredibly kind and gracious people. They give of the heart. They have nothing material to give, but they write beautiful notes and letters and show you pictures, and they're wonderful people.
Yeah. So next year? Yeah, you bet. Next year, you bet. You bet.
Most touching was the final ceremony in Hoi An, and one of the fathers came up and spoke. And you could tell he was very emotional, and he really appreciated what we did.
And this time, after a week of operations, the team was able to do surgeries on 38 cases from many provinces throughout Guangdong province.
I was particularly moved on that day because the chairman of the party for the province came to our meeting. My perception is that you got to be a pretty tough guy to become the chairman of the party and in any province. But he was so moved by what he had seen during the week we spent in Hoi An, by the children whose faces were changed, whose lives were changed, that he cried at our meeting and hugged me, which I think is unusual. And so that was particularly moving and rewarding. And I certainly think that we have a great friend there.
Through 15 years, we have a very good relationship between the team and Vietnamese surgeon here and myself. We appreciate much of the help, and we admire the way they are working, enthusiasm and consideration with Vietnamese patients. And so we feel we love them.
I think the entire time I was planning this trip, it was something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to go to a third world country and help someone who was in need. But I really didn't expect the amount of appreciation that we received. And you look back at the parents, and the parents were so grateful as well.
You've never been thanked until you've been thanked by a Vietnamese grandma for helping their grandchild. That's what I found out.
And it really just, it felt good. It kind of had me walking on clouds.
So we do tend to look after some of the ones who fall through that crack. And there's going to be cases that are only going to be done when we're here because of resources and some of the post-operative care. But in general, we've moved the bar and we've reset the needle, which has been a great opportunity for us.
The change is obvious. The change is so obvious. If you were talking about people's faces, and the face is what the rest of the world sees first in you when they meet you. It's your voice. It's your voice to the rest of the world. Instead of going on vacation this year, I've come here and it's been a lifetime highlight. It's been better than any vacation that I've ever taken. So you get to do something meaningful. What better is that? I can't wait to come back. That's it. It's just that simple.
I think we've changed people's lives. The surgeries we've done on the faces of young children will change their life forever. And there's some older patients we've done, although they need many surgeries. It's the first step, and you give them hope, and I think they know you'll come back next year.
You know, a lot of these kids, we make a huge impact on them. One child, she told Dr. Popham, she said, "I'm going to be your friend forever. Thank you for doing this for me."
People always ask me, they always say to me, gosh, how wonderful it is for you to go off and do a charity mission. And I actually think that that's so unfair because I probably get far more from this mission than I ever give.
I do believe that not only the doctors, the surgeons, but anyone from the U.S. with any kind of talent or skills, ability, that we can come here and give of ourselves and our time, then we would greatly improve the qualities of life for so many lives, so many villages, so many cities, and the whole country. And then these individuals gonna be able to impact the world.